Hey, what's up everyone? Welcome to my channel. If you're new here, I do artwork for whatever it is I'm reviewing, whether it's video games, movies, or interviews with bands. Now for this video, I want to talk about the Ninja Gaiden series and how I went from being indifferent to hating it to finding it to be one of the best action franchises ever made. So come on in, grab a drink, cause this is my Ninja Gaiden retrospective. Now before I get into it, I'm going to go over the artwork I'm doing. For this one, I'm just doing kind of a quick sketch, rough draft. It's nothing too crazy, nothing too, say, professional. If you want to see more of my finer art, check out my other videos. Sometimes I just want to pump out something without worrying if it looks like a masterpiece. I'm drawing mainline series protagonist Ryu Hayabusa, and for it, I wanted to emphasize his kind of stoic action stance demeanor, the strength and tenacity for violence. Not counting the original trilogy, this series is bloody. Very bloody. So this drawing is gonna showcase some stylized blood. I mean, hell, I could just draw a puddle of blood, but where's the fun in that? So yeah, I'm using a basic pencil and brush tool, and I'm keeping it kind of simple on purpose. You know, I like red against black and gray monochrome. I might throw some color on here. I don't know, depending on how much time I have, how much I want to spend on it. Just something that kind of fits the Ninja Gaiden kind of feel. And if you do like my art and commentary, go ahead and hit that like and subscribe. Also keep in mind, I only spent about an hour and a half total on this drawing, so a lot of my other work that I spend 5-6 hours on looks a lot different. Now, let's get into it. Ninja Gaiden? Some people pronounce it different. I'm just going to go with Ninja Gaiden. Let's start at the beginning. The first Ninja Gaiden came out in 1988 in arcades, then later on the NES. The original game was a beat-em-up similar to Final Fight or Streets of Rage, while the NES versions were basic action platformers that emphasized quick reaction time and split second-to-second combat. The arcade version never saw a console release until it was bundled with Ninja Gaiden Black on Xbox in 2005. Not a lot of people seem to be familiar with that version and instead know the classic NES versions. Unfortunately, the arcade version never got a sequel. The NES games were fun, but hard, platformers that rewarded precision and timing. This was during a time when games were more difficult than they needed to be. They weren't impossible to beat, but definitely made difficult to pad out gameplay time. Now, I liked the NES Ninja Gaiden games, but admittedly, all three felt completely identical to each other, as opposed to a series like Castlevania, which also was a melee action platformer, and each of those games felt different, well, the originals anyway, and then when it went to 3D. Ninja Gaiden 1 through 3 really all just kind of felt like one game. Personally, I prefer the arcade beat-em-up to the NES games. Well, after Ninja Gaiden 3 released, the series lay dormant for almost a decade. I don't know the exact amount of years, but it was a while. During that time, games from the home console trilogy were constantly ported and re-released to other systems, like the Super Nintendo kind of port from the original ones, which a lot of people don't seem to like. It wasn't until 2004 when Ninja Gaiden was revived on the original Xbox. Now, I never played that version, I know, but I did play and still own my copy of Ninja Gaiden Black, a complete edition, apparently with extra content. That, Halo, Fable, and Knights of the Old Republic were why I got an Xbox. At first, I was in love with Ninja Gaiden Black, until I got to a boss that I couldn't beat. I'm talking about Alma. I had skimmed my way all the way up to her, not really understanding the combat system. I kept dying and skirted by cheesing power moves over and over. Well, I eventually shelved it, and I never looked back. I was coming off of games like Devil May Cry and God of War. Devil May Cry, while fast and frantic, is kind of a button masher. The first one, anyway. Devil May Cry 3 completely changed the combat approach. It's probably one of my favorite, along with this, action games of all time. But the first game, yeah, it was kind of stiff and janky. I still love it, though, for the gothic atmosphere and the fact that it reminded me more of a 3D Castlevania than the actual 3D Castlevania games. God of War, on the other hand, was a bit slower, but it had much more intricate combos, better enemy variety, more moves to play with, and had everything from up-close combat to air juggles to crowd control. Well, until the Norse-era walking simulators came along with a talking head that kind of pointed out, where and how to solve your puzzles, because apparently they thought gamers were too dumb to figure it out on their own. Anyway, I digress. When I went into Ninja Gaiden Black, I wasn't prepared. Years went by until I finally picked up the Master Collection to give it another shot. And I know a lot of people seem to not be too fond of the Master Collection because the Sigma versions are on there and they made some changes from the original versions, but you know what? That's the ones that I have, and that's the ones that kind of got me back into the series. Now, I'm not ashamed to say I tried out each game on the easiest difficulty. Which, again, I'm not ashamed of because I finally figured out what the game was trying to teach you. Once I figured out Ninja Gaiden's core gameplay, it just clicked. I went on to the normal difficulty and realized that my approach originally was all wrong. So, attacking while standing still yielded a defensive set of moves that kept the enemies at bay. Attacking while running allowed you to cut through enemies while setting up a potential air juggle or power move. The game wasn't just about pulling off flashy combos. It was about movement, approach, proximity, timing, when to put pressure, and when to defend. Once I got it, it just kind of started to flow. It starts to feel more like how you'd approach a fight in real life. There really is no other action game series that captures that feel. The closest thing I could think of in recent memory is Sifu, but that game is a bit slower and more methodical. Still, Sifu is a great martial arts game if you're into kind of one-man army versus waves and hordes of enemies. It's hard, but it's very rewarding. Anyway, finally after a decade, I beat Ninja Gaiden. Now, it was time to move on to Ninja Gaiden 2. One of my complaints about the first of the new generation of games is sometimes the camera can get stuck on an enemy you're not trying to attack. See, most games push you to attack the closest enemy to you. In these games, you might not always want to do that. Sometimes the biggest threat is some shadow ninja off-screen throwing fireballs, and I want to take him out first. Instead, it'll lock you onto some worthless grunt, kind of putting you to a cheap shot, cheap area. It's not that bad, but it did happen enough to get annoying. Ninja Gaiden 2 fixes that problem to an extent. It felt faster, smoother, and all around much better to control. I played both Sigma 2 and the remake Ninja Gaiden 2 Black, and this may sound like heresy, but I found 2 Black, Ninja Gaiden 2, the Black version, to be my preferred version, if not just for the ridiculous amount of gore. Apparently, Sigma 2 was highly censored. I have read that a lot of fans of the original Ninja Gaiden 2 didn't like the Black version because it had some minor changes, but that's still one of my favorite games in the series. I did look up some of the differences between the original version, Sigma 2, and 2 Black, and the only real thing I found was save point placement was changed, and the original had limited bow and arrow ammo. And I understand that limiting ammo does give the game more of a challenge, and then giving you infinite ammo for 2 Black could make it easier, but it doesn't mean it's not still a challenging game. Otherwise, the core gameplay is unchanged, so I really don't get a lot of the incessant complaints unless you're really hardcore into the original version of Ninja Gaiden 2, which I also understand. If I had a working 360 or a copy of Ninja Gaiden 2, the original, I'd play it. Except I can't find it anywhere on the Microsoft Store, and copies online are absurdly priced. As someone who didn't play the 360 version, though, Ninja Gaiden 2 Black is an amazing game. I have no complaints here. The character designs are still top-notch, and from what it looks like, they really didn't change a lot of the fan service. Which brings me to Ninja Gaiden 3 Razor's Edge. Oh man, if Razor's Edge was this broken, I can't imagine how the original one was. This is probably the weakest of the newer games. It doesn't mean it's bad though, it's just not as good as 1 or 2. For starters, it has a strange art style where it's hard to see what's going on in dark areas. The shadows are a little bit too black and it's a little bit too dark at times, and you really can't see where you're going. Secondly, the movement and moveset feels a bit too stiff and automatic, making even harder difficulties kind of feel easy. Too often did the game feel like it was playing itself. For example, in 1 and 2, if you run into a heavy attack, Ryu would do an uppercut that you could string into a slam or Izuna drop. It's a move where you kind of uppercut enemies up midair, grab them, spin around, slam them back down. In 3, he does this spinning blade bullshit that kind of does nothing. Again, it doesn't mean 3 has bad combat, it's just not as intuitive or interesting. Also, whereas 1 and 2 had cool locales like forest temples, ancient ruins, modern cities, demonic underworld, 3 was mostly just sci-fi military slop. Nothing really kind of stood out for me. The levels could have been pulled straight out of a modern Call of Duty game. I mean, it was pretty, the graphics weren't bad. It's just kind of boring. Not to mention, while 2 had like a dozen weapons, 3 has like 3 weapons. I read somewhere that the original Ninja Gaiden 3 only had 1, it was just the dragon sword, and that's a major downgrade from like the dozen weapons you had in Ninja Gaiden 2. It did feel kind of limiting. But you do get to play as Kasumi from Dead or Alive in the extra mode, so I guess there's that. Kasumi. That is one thing I do like about Ninja Gaiden 2 also. You had guest characters like Rachel and... oh, what was her name from Dead or Alive? Momiji, yeah. And on extra levels, kind of like secret levels, once you beat the game, you can do like time runs with those characters. That's kind of fun. Anyway, then we got Ninja Gaiden 4, and holy shit. I don't know how the Ninja Gaiden community feels about 4, and I don't care. I fucking love this game. It has an awesome, futuristic, Neo-Tokyo sci-fi aesthetic that mixes techno-neon light futurism with forested areas, dirty alleyways, and demonic world locations all washed over in a cool blue undertone. I love the look of this game. The art direction is fantastic. This time, you play as newcomer Yakumo from a rival clan, the Raven Clan, until you switch to series mainstay Ryu later on in the game. I didn't mind this new approach, as for me, gameplay comes first, and the gameplay here is some of the best melee action I have ever played. To say it's fast is an understatement. Mixed in are cool pipe skating and surfing sections that seem ridiculous on paper, but are just pure stupid fun in execution. I love it. As for the story, all across all the games, well, let's see, there's an ancient dragon, a cursed sword, 4 has a hot priestess, some bloodline bullshit, whatever, something demon stuff, dragon sword, Hayabusa clan, a curse, I don't know. Honestly, who fucking cares? I'm here to chop heads off, not watch an Oscar performance. And that's why I love this series, along with the ridiculously attractive supporting female characters. I mean, just look at this. Western devs would never create anything this appealing. These games don't have that shitty modern millennial writing shoved in by failed liberal arts students that got a job at IGN and later worked on ruining once beloved franchises like Dragon Age and God of War. Ninja Gaiden knows what it is and doesn't try to shove some stupid message down your throat. There's a bad guy, you kill him, the end, next game. Out of all them, I'd say 4 has the most coherent story, but it doesn't shove it in your face. 2 has probably a better story, but it jumps around a lot. I really don't remember most of it. There's a hot, evil demon priestess, and she gets naked and bathes in blood, then you fight her. Then there's a giant dragon, you going up a cave. And, well, you know, what the fuck ever. Who cares? It's just fun as shit. 3, I honestly forgot. Get the Dark Dragon Blade. Ryu's arm is infected with rage because he kills too much, I guess, or something. Yeah, he's a fucking ninja killing bad guys. I don't know why that's a bad thing. And there's a little girl, and he has a girlfriend that's not a girlfriend, but she's kind of is, but she kind of goes nowhere. Then you get to 4, and anyway. But again, it doesn't matter, because these are awesome action games, not Telltale bullshit. Lastly, I want to end on Ninja Gaiden Ragebound, which I finally got on Steam, because I'm kind of limiting my digital purchases on the PlayStation, because Steam kind of has a better end user license agreement, and PlayStation, with everything that's been going on so far, I'm kind of losing trust in them. So, yeah, really not too happy with them. But Ninja Gaiden Ragebound, this game was made by the same people that made the brilliant Blasphemous games. It's probably one of my favorite recent platformers, aside from Blasphemous and a game called Darklight, which I might include in a video later on about my favorite Metroidvanias. Ragebound is hard but fair. It features two characters, Kenji and Kumori. Kenji plays similar to Ryu in the classic NES games, but with a whole hell of a lot more range of motion. Levels have plenty of traps and obstacles to get through, with lots of clever ways to avoid them. You can jump attack into environmental particles or dodge roll through enemies and traps. It's great because it encourages constant movement instead of constantly stopping to break the flow of gameplay. Enemy attacks too can be parried with your own attacks, and platforming is smooth as butter. Komori plays similarly, except she throws kunai instead of using a sword to slash. I mean, just look at this. This is how an action platformer is supposed to play. After a couple levels, you get to control Kenji as a main character, and Kumori is kind of a supporting background character, I want to say. She becomes kind of a special move in herself, but play it on your own and check it out. I'm still in the middle of Ragebound, but I cannot recommend it enough. It's a lot like Legacy of Kain Ascendance if it wasn't written by an idiot and had good gameplay, good level design, good sound design, good graphics, good controls, and respected the fan base. So it's the complete opposite of Legacy of Kain Ascendance. If you love Ninja Gaiden or platformers in general, you should probably get Ragebound. So, all in all, I'd say Ninja Gaiden is probably my favorite melee action franchise around, and that's including Ninja Gaiden 3 Razor's Edge. It's still a fun game. They may have fucked up some of the combos and combat, but it doesn't mean it's bad. It's just the worst of a great series, if that makes sense. It took me some time getting used to it, but once it clicked, nothing else has felt as satisfying to play as Ninja Gaiden 1, 2, even 3, and 4. Let me know your favorite action games, and if I haven't played something, I'll check it out. I'm always looking for something new to sink my teeth into. Anyway, hope you guys enjoyed the video, and if anyone has any action or platforming or even shooter games I may not have played yet, let me know in the comments. I might do a sketch and review for one of those, or even a whole series retrospective if it is something I actually have played. So take it easy, and I will see you on the next one.